Today we will begin the series on the fruits of the Spirit. Not the gifts of the Spirit, the fruits of the Spirit. Today we will address that first one. This is Father's Day, and I cannot think of a more fitting sermon for Father's Day than to talk about love. The greatest influence on my life was my father, my dad. And the only thing I need to do to remember him is to look in the mirror, because I look pretty much just like him. I part my hair a different way. I've got his diseases, I've got his waistline, I've got his height. I look like my dad. And his influence on me will be eternally felt. When I got married to my wife on May 21st, 1983, if I had only been married to my wife, that would have been enough for the last 42 years. I have been extremely blessed. And when someone has said, behind every good man, there is a great woman, that would be true of me. But the fact that I was able to have children and grandchildren is a bonus that has added to my life in ways that go beyond my ability to describe what that is like. I have been very blessed. And so as we celebrate Father's Day, we turn to the subject of love. In Galatians chapter 5, we see a big contrast between what has been, what the indulgences, if you will, of the flesh are, the acts of sinful nature in verse 19. And then Paul contrasts them with the fruits of the Spirit of God. And he lists them here: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. We'll be hitting those one per week, other than maybe a little commercial in between for July 4th and so forth and so on. But we'll be hitting those, and today is love. There are four kinds of love. Three of them mentioned in the scriptures. For some of you, this may be new information. For some of you, it won't be. You figured love is love, right? There's no differentiation. There's not different kinds of love. Well, there is. There's four. The first one is agape. Agape, self-giving love, the very nature of God. God is love. Agape love is giving of oneself. Agape love is unconditional. Agape love is a love that gives regardless of emotion. It's self-giving love. It's the love that God had for man when he gave his only begotten Son to give us redemption. We'll talk about that more in a moment. Then there is phileo, or philia, depending on what ending is used. A special interest in someone, having affection for a friend. Three of the times that Jesus said to Peter, after he was raised from the dead on the beach when they were having fish, Peter, do you love me? He two of those times he used the word phileo, essentially saying, Peter, how good of a friend are you? How good of a friend am I? Feed my sheep. Phileo. Does phileo belong in a marital relationship? Well, absolutely. Before anything, my wife is my friend. Then comes storge. Storge is love and affection that naturally occurs between parents and children or grandchildren, siblings, and yes, even in a marriage between a husband and a wife in a good marriage, because there's that kind of affection. But is the love that I have for my wife different than the love that I have for my children? Well, yeah, it is. Because of the parental love. Is it different than the love I have for my brothers and my sister? Yes, it is. Because storge is different, that affection. And then, of course, comes the notorious Eros, named after the Greek god. Physical love. Usually if somebody is named after, or something is named after a Greek god, there is some kind of depravity in that, where that name comes from. Eros is the epitome of all of that. When used as a proper noun, it refers to the Greek god of love and passion. Eros does not appear in the Bible. You see, Eros is a taker, where the others are givers. We won't spend any more time on Eros. Today we're going to focus on the first one, that being agape. Do you remember this song? We sang it a lot in the 70s, probably sang it in the 60s too, but I didn't remember much about all of that. The most important phrase in this song of old is the gospel in a word is love. You take love out of the gospel message, you have nothing. You have maybe an entertaining story. Love thy neighbor as thy brother. Well, we'll get to that. The first thing we're going to talk about is love for God and God's love for us, that agape. It primarily signals love, specifically a selfless, sacrificial, unconditional love. It often describes God's love for humanity and humanity's love for God. We all learned in our Bible verses, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Focusing on God so loved, that self-giving love, the world. Agape is not based on feelings or attraction, but rather on a deliberate choice to seek the well-being of another, regardless of their worthiness or their response. A lot of times in marriage counseling, people have probably heard the biggest fallacy, myth, if you will, in counseling. Marriage is 50-50. No, it's not. How dumb is that? Sometimes marriage is 90-10. Sometimes it's 60-40. Sometimes I'm only able to give on a particular day 10%. My wife has to give 90%. Sometimes it's the other way around. Well, when it comes to God's love for mankind, I'm pretty sure there was a time when he was given 100% and we were given nothing. And yet, even though our response was not appropriate, he chose to seek the well-being of the world, regardless of our worthiness, regardless of our response. In the New Testament, agape refers to the covenant love of God for humans and their love for God, and extends to the love for one's fellow human beings. Today we will walk through numerous scriptures, and we'll let the scriptures do the talking. The first one comes out of Matthew 22:36 and following. Jesus was asked, "Which is the greatest commandment? Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments." That's right up there, isn't it? The Jews were taught that. Jesus repeats it. That's big time. 1 John chapter 4, 7 through 9. John the apostle, the elder, said, "Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. This is how God showed his love among us. He sent his one and only Son into the world that we might live through him." Love is of God. God is love. Self-giving love. Not because of the desired response or because of worthiness. Because if we're going to be of God, we have to share his love. If God begat us, then we are of God. Shifting gears. In 1881, in 1881, the city of Chicago City Council passed a municipal ordinance known as the Ugly Law, which prohibited individuals with unsightly or disfiguring disabilities from appearing in public. This law was intended to address street obstructions and was part of a broader trend of ugly laws enacted in various cities across the nation. The Ugly Law in Chicago was a discriminatory measure that criminalized disability by making it illegal for people with visible impairments to be seen in public. This law was a direct response to societal anxieties surrounding poverty and disability, reflecting a desire to control and exclude those deemed unsightly from the public sphere. If you are so disfigured or disabled that you are unsightly, we need you out of sight. If you are so disabled you can't work and you have to ask for help, we don't want you clogging our streets and our sidewalks, the places where we walk and where we look. Wow. Huh. Not a proud thing for Chicago, huh? And I think I read that that law was on the books in Chicago until the 1970s. Mankind has spent an inordinate amount of time figuring out ways to treat one another in unspeakable ways. Need I mention slavery or abortion? What do you think of a city that wants all of its disabled or unsightly people tucked away so that the good people don't have to see them? What would you think about a country that kills its own unborn children? Mankind's ability to be cruel is a staggering tragedy that will bring ruin to us. What makes Christ Church different is our adherence to God's command to love one another. This brings me to my final talking point. Love one another. Matthew 5:43 and following. You've heard that it was said, love your neighbor, hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. What? That's crazy talk, isn't it? He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. If you love those who love you, what reward will you get? Are not even the tax collectors doing that? And if you greet only your own people, what are you doing more than others? Do not even pagans do that? Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. 1 John 4 again. Whoever claims to love God, yet hates his brother or sister, is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen. And he has given us this command: anyone who loves God must also love their brother and sister. John 13. Jesus said, a new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. And then, of course, Jesus' words in John chapter 15, Thursday night of the Passion Week. Jesus is going to the garden. The most important words on his lips are these: as the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. I've told you this so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no man than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I learned from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and get it. Bear fruit. Fruit that will last. And so that whatever you ask in my name the Father will give you. This is my command. Love each other. Wow. Love is a fruit of the Spirit. Jesus commanded us to bear fruit that will last. The Apostle Paul reminds us again, love is a fruit of the Spirit, and it is supposed to taste good. Not bitter, not spoiled, not the second best. It's supposed to taste good because love comes from God. Let me restate. Then we'll go to conclusion. Everybody's favorite part. Yee-haw! Love for God, God's love for us. Self-giving love, self-sacrificial, unconditional. God loved us when we were unlovable. That's the way we're supposed to love one another. Then Jesus points out that we're supposed to love our enemies. We're supposed to love those that persecute us. We're supposed to love our brother and our sister, our friends, one another. Because love comes from God. We can't claim to be of God, in God, if we don't love one another. Finally, Jesus said in Matthew 7, you might think I was not supposed to say this last part, but see, I'm good now. Matthew 7. Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, by their fruit, you will recognize them. Well, we talked last week about Jesus coming in to Jerusalem on that Monday of the Passion Week and seeing the fig tree that looks like it was going to be bearing figs, and because it had leaves and blooms, and looks like it ought to have figs, and it didn't. And so Jesus, objectless, and cursed the fig tree, and it withered and died. Well, there you go. Now we're warned against a tree that looks like it should have a certain kind of fruit, but it doesn't. It has a different kind of fruit. You'll know the tree by the fruit. You'll know the disciple by the fruit. You'll know the husband by the fruit. You'll know the father by the fruit. You'll know the friend by the fruit. You'll know the politician by the fruit. Talk is cheap. The truth is in the fruit. Watch out for false prophets, false witnesses. Falsehood will always say it's one thing, but act a different way. The first fruit of the Spirit is love. Back to John 15. Jesus is the vine and we are the branches, then our fruit must look like it came from the Spirit of God as it is attached to the vine. Don't accept words, accept fruit. I suppose we all have our favorite fruit. I like a lot of fruit. Matter of fact, I'm not sure there's a fruit that I don't like. I'm not a real fan of some tropical things. They ought to stay in the tropics, I suppose. But there's others I can eat all the time. You will not really come to our house and not see an apple. The problem with pears is, boy, when they decide to go bad, they go fast. But I like pears. A little maintenance here. Good job. Fruit is healthy. Fruit is sustaining. Fruit gives life. Fruit tastes good. So must ours. Our song of invitation and closing is appropriate. Love lifted me. When nothing else could help, love lifted me, even me. Love lifted me. Let's stand together.